Hello everyone and welcome to the Brain Attack Music channel. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, please click on subscribe below. This doesn't cost anything, it's just purely adding me to your subscriber list, so it's kind of like a favourites list. And if you'd like to be notified of when new videos are posted, if you click on the bell icon, you will get a notification to say that a new video has been uploaded. First of all, it's a bit dark. It's, where are we? 1:58 in the afternoon, believe it or not, here in southern Scotland, and I have a feeling we might, depending on how it goes, we might hear the sound of very heavy rainfall on the roof before too much longer. It's winter. I like it personally, but there you go, each to their own. That's the light-hearted bit over with. The topic of this video is, I think, something that many brain injury and stroke survivors have to contend with if they've had a particularly bad experience, and that is fear of dying. Now, I can only speak about this from my own situation, so here goes. If you've not watched any of the other videos on this channel, this will be new to you. If you have watched them, then forgive me for recapping. But I was admitted to A&E with suspected labyrinthitis, possibly a stroke. Nobody was too sure. My GP thought it was a stroke. Paramedics thought it was labyrinthitis. And upon being admitted to A&E, I was then admitted to the stroke ward for observation. I don't remember that. I remember getting to A&E. I don't remember then leaving A&E and going to the stroke ward. What happened is then I was on the stroke ward for a couple of days, and my wife noticed that I was slowly going downhill. The staff there thought I was okay, but my wife was noticing changes in my behaviour that was suggesting to her things weren't quite right. Long story short, they eventually took me down for an MRI and found I was had something called hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain. My brain had swollen with the stroke, and there was fluid building up in my skull, slowly crushing my brain. And I had to be whisked off. First of all, I needed a transfusion because they'd filled me with a lot of antiplatelet meds and blood thinner and all the rest of it. And it's like, now we need to do a long operation. Well, we don't want him bleeding out, so we're going to have to take all that blood out, put some normal blood in, and do the operation, and away we go. So I was wheeled down for 6 hours, as it turned out, of emergency brain surgery to decompress my skull. I've got a piece of skull missing out of the back here, and I've got a hole, we'll go which side it is here, a hole where they had to drill and relieve the pressure and take the fluid out. So the next thing I remember is coming around in the neurosurgery ward. Didn't realise at the time it was the neurosurgery ward, but that's where it was after my brain surgery. And when you find out what's actually been going on and the magnitude of it, and it all sinks in and you absorb it and what have you, you eventually get home and you're delighted to be at home, delighted to have your own stuff around you, delighted to be with your wife 24/7. But you know what's happened. You know you've been close to death. And for me, that played on my mind, as I know from looking at Facebook groups and so on. It plays on many people's minds who've been through a similar experience. And it probably took me 2 to 3 years to come to terms with that. And in that intervening period, certainly for the first 18 months to 2 years, every night I would go to sleep thinking, am I going to die in my sleep? Will I wake up tomorrow morning? every night for the best part of 2 years. And of course, eventually, after enough time has passed, you start thinking, well, actually, I haven't, I've managed to wake up for the previous 24 months. I'll probably wake up tomorrow, actually. And you do. And eventually you reach a point where it's like, okay, I'm not going to die, actually. I will wake up tomorrow morning. And now, 7.5 years on, I don't think about it. I go to bed and that's it. And I've planned what I'm going to do the next day and so on and so forth. But I was at a point for the first couple of years, 18 months, 2 years, where it's kind of like, well, what's the point in thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow, because I probably won't be there. So that's the kind of the first thing that I want to mention. If you've been through that kind of experience, obviously not identical to the one that I had, but similar, it's normal, I think, to start questioning your own mortality, questioning your own life and your own death, and what if. There's nothing I can say that will take that away for you. However, it's just recognizing that actually somebody else has, in my case me, somebody else has been there and had a similar thing. It's like, oh, I'm not going mad then. Okay, that's good to know. However, it wasn't just before I went to bed that it started to play on my mind. So bizarre things that I suspect the going to bed thing, will I wake up tomorrow? Most people who've been through that similar situation will have those sorts of thoughts. My also had a few others that started to go off on kind of bizarre tangents. So one of them was, what happens if I have a stroke when I'm in the bathroom, when I'm in the toilet? And the emergency services have to bash the door down. That might be the difference between life and death. And the time it takes them to take a sledgehammer or an axe to the door and bash their way in, that might be the difference between me being alive and me not being alive. So what I'll do, and again, I did this for, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe 2 years, I don't know. But every time I went to the toilet, I wouldn't lock the door. Previously, I'm in the habit of go to the toilet, lock the door. But for a long period of time I didn't, because I thought, well, if I don't lock the door, if I have a problem, if I can make it to the door, I can open it a bit, call for my wife and she can call emergency services. If I can't make it to the door and she can't, if I can't make it to the door and I can't call her, at least I can hammer on something and at least she can come in if I haven't locked the door. Now, I had this real kind of issue up here with the door being locked. Now, the reality is, when you think about it in the cold light of day, when all the anxiety has diminished, and you think, probably a big size 12 on the door and they're in, because it's only, bathroom. It's not exactly high security on a toilet, is it? It's not like you've got 4 Chubb locks and a couple of Yales and touchpad and whatever else to get in. It's just a little flimsy lock. And probably the emergency services are quite experienced at bashing into toilets, because I should think a lot of people, they're feeling ill, they go to the toilet, they might lock the door and then they get worse and then the emergency services are called. So they're probably quite used to bashing the bathroom door down. And it won't take long either. So all that angst that I had about, I can't lock the door, was probably a waste of energy in reality. So these things play on your mind. And then the other one I had was, and again, this is very personal to me. My dad died, again, if you've seen other videos, my dad died when I was 16. I actually saw him die. He had a heart attack in front of me. And as an older person, I'm 62 now, I just wish that I'd spent the little time I had with my dad asking him questions about his life. He was a professional cricketer. other than press cuttings and all the rest, don't know that. He played against Sir Donald Bradman, for heaven's sake. What was it like, Dad, bowling to Sir Donald Bradman? What was that like? He played with Colin Cowdrey. He played against Dennis Compton. Some really fantastic players. I'd really like to find out about that. He served in the war. He was out in Kenya. He was an RAF. He was a Morse code operator. What did he do? What did he get up to? What happened? Who was he with? Why did he go out there? And I don't know. And I probably never will, because he's not around to ask. So in the context of my fear of dying, I was thinking, well, I've got 2 sons, and they don't really know that much about my life. They don't really know what sorts of jobs I did. I don't think they know that much about how I met their mother, sort of family history. Equally, they won't know much about my dad, because I don't, and I don't know that much about my grandparents, so they won't either. So there's a kind of legacy, there's a lineage going on here. So I started drawing up family trees and gathering information and digging out photographs, and I've still got a load. And here we are, 7.5 years post stroke, and I still have a load of stuff that, at some stage I will get around to scanning the photographs in and completing stuff on Ancestry and all the rest of it. But I had this kind of bizarre obsession with lineage and thinking, so much I don't know about my lineage, and my kids are going to know even less, because I won't be around for them to ask me questions about the little that I know. So we say, oh yeah, fear of dying, I'm worried about dying. That sounds quite trite and quite minimalist in a way, but actually behind that very simple statement is a whole load of stuff, from will I wake up in the morning, to going to the loo, won't lock the door, to when I'm not here, what are my kids going to know about me and their dad's side of the family? Not a lot, really. So I just wanted to share that with you, because if you've been in a similar situation, and I see on Facebook groups a lot of people have been, and they are concerned, understandably, about what happens if I die, you're not alone. You're not alone. And it does get better over time. It doesn't seem like it ever will. I remember being maybe a year downstream, as I call it, and it's like, is this how I'm going to live the rest of my life? Every time I go to bed, I'm going to be thinking, is this it? Will I wake up in the morning? And the answer is no, that wasn't it, because, I don't know, 4 years later, wasn't thinking about it. I haven't thought about it for ages. And it was only in doing a bit of research for these videos that I thought, oh, I know, that might be useful for some people. And seeing stuff online that other people were mentioning, it's like, yeah, I need to do a little video about that, I think, because hopefully it will be a crumb of comfort to some of you who are feeling similar, and you're closer to your stroke than I am. You're maybe in your first few months or your first year or whatever, and all of this stuff is going around the head. It does get better. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care and see you soon. Bye for now.